Kiss me like you mean it, the incredible moment she discovered her billionaire boss's secret. Emma's heart raced as she clutched her coffee mug tightly, its warmth soaking through to her fingertips. The familiar hum of the bustling Chicago advertising agency surrounded her like a storm, but it was the looming campaign deadline that tightened her chest. Torn between her family's mounting debts and the creative demands of her job, she felt the weight of her dreams crashing against the harsh wall of reality. In just 3 days, they would launch their boldest campaign yet, a wild plunge into the subconscious of American desire. But Adam, her brilliant yet enigmatic boss, hadn't shared everything, and the weight of his secrets increasingly threatened to topple the precarious world they had built together. Emma. His voice sliced through her racing thoughts, drawing her from the shadows of doubt. There he stood, the epitome of determination and success, yet his eyes reflected shadows she couldn't ignore. She admired the way he navigated this ruthless industry, a self-made billionaire embodying the American dream, and yet, the sudden thought clawed at her, was his success tethered to a lie? Her resolve teetered. The first pang of moral conflict hit hard. Hyacinth, her younger sister, was counting on her to bail them out of their financial mess. Did she owe it to her family to dig deeper into Adam's past, or was she betraying the respect she had for the man who had guided her through countless creative rushes? So many late nights sorting through ad concepts, coffee-fueled laughter, and the exhilarating highs of creative breakthroughs were now marred by the uncertainty swirling in her mind. Should she confront Adam about what she suspected to pry a truth from the person she admired most? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension grew daily with every brainstorming session, but it was the look in his eyes that haunted her. A maker of dreams, he chained himself to the ghosts of his family's misdeeds, this revelation brewing ever closer to bursting. The spark of a breakthrough dimmed as his whispers of confidence frayed into defensive retorts. Did he sense her suspicions? Could their bond withstand the strain? Days turned into a whirlwind as Emma prepared for the upcoming presentation, dread wrapping around her like a vice. She could drop a bombshell or shield her own heart from an inescapable truth, torn between two unyielding forces. Her thoughts raced, graphic images of betrayal and loyalty intermingling grotesquely in her mind. At that moment, she stood in a collapsed world of ethical dilemmas and emotional wreckage. Would she uphold her family's honor if it meant dismantling the one person who believed in her? Could she confront Adam without destroying the brilliance of their collaborative spirit? She was on the precipice of revelation, unsure of what lay at the bottom. As the hour ticked closer to the campaign launch and her decision loomed larger than life, a chilling thought played over and over in her mind: what would she sacrifice? The stakes felt impossibly high, and Emma felt utterly unmoored. Everything she cherished could slip away in an instant. And in that moment of overwhelming chaos, a single shocking revelation struck just as she stood poised to walk onto the stage, breathless and wavering. Everything she thought she knew about ambition, about Adam, about her own integrity hung in the balance, and as she faced the crowd, she wondered what price she was truly willing to pay for truth in a world thriving on illusions. The spotlight felt blinding as Emma stepped onto the stage, the eyes of her colleagues piercing through her facade. She could feel her heart hammering against her ribcage, every beat resonating with the weight of an unspoken truth. As she opened her mouth to speak, the words caught in her throat, the reality of her looming decision pressing down like a suffocating fog. She stood before the audience, the anticipation thick in the air. Her gaze flickered to Adam, who stood off to the side, arms crossed, a steely expression carved into his chiseled features. In that moment, she recognized something deeper in his posture, not just confidence, but a battle-hardened wariness. Perhaps he sensed the storm brewing within her, a tempest of doubt and loyalty. Was she ready to breach the walls of their professional sanctuary? Emma took a deep breath, focusing on the presentation ahead. She had honed every detail with painstaking precision, each slide designed to seduce their audience into the world they had crafted together. But what was the cost of that seduction? The campaign's success felt hollow now, overshadowed by the gnawing questions in her heart. The underlying message they were about to unveil, the pursuit of true desire, seemed to echo her internal conflict. As she presented, she noticed subtle exchanges among her team, a blend of excitement and anxiety that mirrored her own turmoil. Each compelling image and carefully crafted phrase felt like a dance, choreographed to offset her dread. But the reality remained. How could she fully commit to the vision they were selling when her own moral compass was askew? The hour passed in a blur of applause and nods of approval, yet Emma felt detached from the triumphs surrounding her. Once the crowd dispersed, her eyes naturally found Adam again. Standing alone in the midst of the celebration, the distance between them stretched like an abyss, filled with unacknowledged secrets. "Emma," Adam called, breaking her reverie. There was a richness to his voice that hinted at both pride and something darker. She approached him, the weight of their shared success stinging with the sharpness of unvoiced confessions. "Great job today," he said, a genuine smile flickering before dimming. "This campaign, it's going to make waves." "Yeah, it's something," Emma forced out, her mind racing. "But Adam, we need to talk." A flicker of concern crossed his face. About? About us. About the campaign." Her words surfaced with an urgency only she could feel, the tension building as if it were a crescendo in a symphony. She wanted to dive deeper, to confront the truths swimming beneath the polished surface, but hesitated, collecting her thoughts as she gauged his reaction. "Can it wait?" he suggested, clearly sensing her struggle. His tone was protective yet stern, hinting at a barrier she couldn't cross. "No. I can't. Not anymore." There it was, the fracture line that split them between professional respect and personal unease. The mask of professionalism shattered as her resolve strengthened. Every part of her screamed to confront him about what lay hidden, to shed light on the shadows entwining their relationship. Just then, her phone buzzed in her pocket, a notification from Hyacinth. As she glanced down, her stomach twisted. It was a message about their growing financial crisis, the bills piling up like an ever-increasing mountain of dread. Emma's face tightened with resolve. She had to confront her own truth first before she could uncover Adam's. The stakes of her moral dilemma had risen with the weight of her family's desperation clashing against her ambitions. She fought for composure while knowing all too well that this moment could change everything. "Adam, are you ready for what this means?" she spoke, her voice steady as she stepped closer, her determination radiating. The air between them crackled with unspoken words, the echoes of ambition, desire, and vulnerability spun into one tense moment. As she prepared to unearth the truths she was desperate to know, Emma braced herself. The future seemed like uncharted territory, and she was ready to navigate it one revelation at a time. Before she could blurt her fears, the television in the corner flickered to life with breaking news. The backdrop of Adam's potential past flashed across the screen, and in that moment, it all shifted. Emma felt the ground beneath her alter, each glance exchanged constricting her chest. The moment had come to face not just Adam, but the reality of the choices they were about to make together. Emma's heart pounded in her chest as the screen illuminated Adam's features, now accompanied by a narrative she had yet to process. The room felt charged, her colleagues' chatter morphing into a distant hum as a news anchor detailed a scandal that threatened to unravel everything Adam had built. She studied his face, an array of emotions flickering across his typically stoic expression: shock, fear, anger. "Emma," he murmured, breaking the spell of their shared silence. His voice was low, laden with urgency. "We need to move." In an instant, the exterior calm she'd cultivated began to crumble. Hours ago, success tasted sweet, yet now it felt contaminated, tainted by deceit. Was this the reality of the life she had strived to endorse? Her instincts screamed at her to retreat, to safeguard herself from the possible fallout, but deeper impulses pulled her closer to the fire. Adam's eyes searched hers, pleading for understanding amidst the chaos. How could she balance her personal values against the potential for professional ruin? For the first time, she questioned whether their paths were truly intertwined or if they were just ships passing in the night, vulnerable as the storm approached. "I can't just abandon everything," she said, each word heavy with the gravity of her predicament. A part of her still wanted to rally beside him, to deliver a fierce defense against external judgments. But an internal voice demanded honesty, a confrontation of her dual obligations. "Emma, I didn't want you to find out like this," he replied, stepping closer, the tension threading between them palpable. It was a silent acknowledgement of the connection they shared, now strained under the weight of unspoken truths. "What do you mean? You've kept this from me, Adam. Do I even know you?" Anger flared within her, coupled with the fear of losing the man she had started to admire deeply. His gaze faltered. "I had to protect you. The campaign, it means everything for us, for you." "Us? Everything?" She echoed incredulously, her voice shaking. "You think this changes nothing? I didn't choose this." He stepped back, frustration boiling over. "But if we work together, we can mitigate the damage. Is that what this has always been about? Saving your skin?" Emma demanded, her heart racing. She grappled with the realization that her ambition might have led her to overlook the complexities of Adam's character. The past few months had been tinted with a blend of admiration and desire, yet now her judgment felt distorted. "Stop. Just stop," he interrupted, his tone losing its edge as it softened. "You think I want this for either of us? I'm trying to protect this what we've built together." A wave of vulnerability washed over her, challenging her to reflect on their dynamic. However, instead of the camaraderie she craved, she felt as if she were being swept along a tide built upon personal gain and ambition. Could she separate her feelings for him from the professional gamble he was proposing? The implications seemed insurmountable. As quietness enveloped them, Emma began to breathe, taking stock of her emotions. She realized she wasn't just confronting Adam, she was standing at a crossroads, where personal integrity clashed with the ambition that had driven her for years. Should she forge ahead with someone whose integrity remained shrouded in shadows, or cut ties, reclaiming her narrative? Amidst her spiraling thoughts, her phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Hyacinth. Without looking, she felt the urgency knitting its way back into her core. There was the mounting pressure of financial responsibility and growing expectations that wouldn't relent. "Give me time," she blurted suddenly, her voice evolving beyond pleas to fortified resolve. "I need to think about everything." The air hung thick with the weight of her decision, and as she stepped back, she could sense Adam's disappointment laced with understanding. The truth was unavoidable, they stood on the brink of possible self-destruction. But with every tick of the clock, the grounds for their mutual risks were solidifying. Was this adventure a necessary journey of self-discovery, or was it ultimately a well-crafted trap? With uncertainty threatening her resolve, Emma turned her body toward the door, her heart racing as the stakes escalated. The choices lay heavy before her, waiting to be confronted, with her future spiraling in both the personal and professional dimensions. Just as she reached the threshold, she paused, caught in a moment straddling darkness and light. What lay ahead? Was it a doorway to newfound ambitions or a prison built from betraying trust? The answer loomed like a shadow, ready to cast its weight upon her once again. The moment of truth approached, and Emma was ready to face whatever came her way. Emma stepped out of the office, the heavy door clicking shut behind her, a finality that felt disorienting. The hallway stretched ahead, fluorescent lights flickering in sync with her turbulent thoughts. She needed clarity, not just for herself but also to understand Adam and his motives. With each step down the corridor, a whisper of doubt gnawed at her conscience. Did she truly believe she could carve a path without dragging his shadow alongside her? Ambition was a double-edged sword wielded in the employment of survival, but had she miscalculated everything about their partnership? Her mind raced to the ethics of their relationship, intertwining personal ambition with professional obligations. The rush of adrenaline that had accompanied her earlier success began to fade, replaced by feelings of betrayal and disillusionment. It had all felt so right until the moment of revelation shattered her perception. Determined to regain her footing, she reached her office and sank into the chair, the cool leather grounding her in the present. From her desk, she could see the busy street below, life moving briskly without regard for the upheaval brewing in her own heart. The familiar ebb and flow of city life contrasted sharply with the internal chaos that plagued her. Emma pulled up the news website, the scandal entwined within its headlines taunting her like an insatiable ghost. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard as she searched for the truth that had eluded her. She steeled her resolve and read the details, absorbing the gravity of Adam's situation, the accusations, the potential fallout, the way reputations hung in the balance. Each line elevated the stakes not only for him but for her as well, entwining their fates in a way she hadn't anticipated. The ambiguity between right and wrong morphed into a calculated risk, a tightrope walk of morality and ambition. What if she decided to stand with him? The thought brought a surge of loyalty, but tinged with fear. Would her choice jeopardize her hard-earned career? Or was distancing herself the ultimate betrayal? The crackling energy of inner conflict sent Emma's thoughts racing. She picked up a pen and began to jot down everything she had accomplished, every late night spent perfecting campaigns, every milestone achieved, and the relationships forged. The list became more than mere achievements, it was a reminder of her worth, a bulwark against the chaos creeping in. Amidst the clamor of self-doubt, a memory surfaced her mentor's words: "Trust your instincts, but question your attachments." Perfect advice, yet now it felt murky in the context of Adam. She clutched the pen tighter, enacting her own silent oath to preserve her integrity, investigate the truth, and make decisions based on clarity rather than emotion. After hours of her mental tug-of-war, Emma took a deep breath and reached for her phone to draft a message to Hyacinth, seeking her counsel. But instead, her fingers hesitated as another thought struck. Rather than consulting her mentor, maybe it was time to take charge. She could gather information herself. If she stepped into Adam's world, she could piece together the fragmented parts he hadn't revealed and determine where they stood. With purposeful intent, Emma rose from her chair, a newfound resolve pushing her forward. The investigation could build the foundation for either reconciliation or resolution. It was clear she had the capacity to drive her own narrative, shaping her path despite the uncertainty surrounding Adam's scandal. As she stepped back into the corridor, the pulse of opportunity thrummed beneath her resolve. With each stride toward the elevator, Emma transformed potential frustration into unfocused determination. Deep down, she was unraveling layers of her own character. Persisting amid turmoil was part of her professional evolution. Yet, uncertainty loomed larger than her ambitions. Adam had opened a door, unveiling pieces of a puzzle she couldn't ignore. As she pressed the button for the lobby, she felt something shifting within her, the prospect of facing Adam again loomed directly ahead. She would indulge in the revelations waiting to be uncovered. The potential for truth hidden beneath deception was what she craved. Arriving at the ground floor, she took a breath, preparing herself for what lay ahead. The moment to confront the truth was nearly within reach, but the question lingered: could the depths of their connection withstand the revelations awaiting them both? The soft chime of the elevator broke Emma's thoughts as she stepped inside, the panels of polished metal reflecting her anxious expression. The descent felt slower than usual, each floor dragging her deeper into contemplation. She had to focus on the immediate task, but the array of potential outcomes spun through her mind like an uncontrollable whirlwind. Would she uncover something that would change everything? Or would the truth reinforce the bond they already shared? When the doors opened, she stepped out into the bustling lobby, where the chic decor and vibrant energy of the office building buzzed with the promise of opportunity. She felt a slight tremor of apprehension ripple through her, but it was accompanied by a spark of determination. If she was to tackle this personally, she needed a plan. Retrieving her notebook, she skimmed over her earlier jottings, contemplating her next move. First, she decided, she needed context and overview of Adam's recent activities, conversations he might have had, and any associates that could shed light on their current predicament. Each fragment of information would build a clearer picture, a directive plan of action. She took a sharp breath, envisioning the network of people connected to Adam. They would be her starting point. As she walked through the glass doors into the sunlit street, a stranger passing by nearly collided with her, pulling her abruptly back to reality. The bustling city felt alive yet eerily disconnected from her own internal struggle. Purposefully, she pulled out her phone to navigate the possibility of reaching out to a few colleagues, those still in Adam's circle but outside the swirl of this scandal. Their insights could prove invaluable. In the next hour, Emma had conversed with a couple of trusted peers, piecing together the remnants of Adam's professional life. One mutual acquaintance had particularly piqued her attention, Jordan, a project manager who had worked closely with Adam. They had shared both successes and challenges, making Jordan well-placed to provide insights. With a swift message, she set a time to meet, hoping that this meeting would lead her to answers. The cafe they agreed upon was cozy but invigorating. As Emma entered, the scent of roasting coffee beans filled the air, grounding her racing thoughts. She spotted Jordan at a small table in the corner, his focus on a laptop screen that flickered with presentations. She approached, her heart rattling in rhythm with the delicate clink of cup against saucer as she sat down. "Emma," Jordan greeted, looking up with a smile that quickly faded into concern. "I heard about Adam. Are you okay?" Waving off the sentiment, she adopted a businesslike demeanor. "I'm fine, but we need to talk about him. Can you tell me about the projects he's been engaged in recently? Anything unusual?" He shifted in his seat, the flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. "Things have been tense lately. There was a push for results, and a few late nights involved. But what matters more is the recent backdoor deals I overheard. Not on his projects, all related to assets in shadowy markets." As Jordan spoke, Emma's mind raced, threading together the implications of shadowy deals and Adam's enigmatic behavior. She couldn't shake the feeling that Adam was maneuvering through a storm of his own making, and her instincts told her that the answers lay obscured by layers of secrecy. With each word, her suspicion deepened, yet she also felt a sense of unease regarding her involvement. Would delving deeper compromise her judgment? She had to balance her pursuit of the truth with her own values, her growing resolve teetering on the edge. Jordan's eyes bore into hers, searching for guidance or perhaps clarity of his own. "You know, there's only so much we can do. You might consider distancing yourself from him until things settle. It could save you." "No," she cut in, her voice firmer than intended. "I can't just turn my back on him. I owe it to myself to understand what's happening." As the words left her lips, the weight of them pressed against her. Could her resolve to support Adam transform into a necessity for her own growth? For in understanding him, she realized, she would inevitably confront her own demons, solidifying her character in a world of gray. As they wrapped up their conversation, an undeniable truth struck her. She was on the precipice of a personal evolution, a journey that would reshape her understanding of loyalty, ambition, and moral integrity. "Emma," Jordan started, just as she was about to stand. "Be careful. The truth may not be what you expect." Stepping out of the cafe, a chill ran through her, a warning or perhaps an invitation to dive deeper into the unknown. The quest to uncover the truth had become more than just about Adam, it was about her. And with it, an unsettling question lingered: what would she be willing to sacrifice to discover who she really was in the aftermath of such revelations? The sun set behind her, casting long shadows down the street, as she made her way back to the office, her heart set on the uncharted territory ahead. Emma walked into the office building, her mind still lingering on Jordan's warning. She had gained a glimpse into a darker world, one that challenged her moral compass. The vibrant atmosphere of the lobby felt oddly contrasting. Staff hurried past, ensconced in their own realities, unaware of the brewing storm in her life. Emma took a moment to compose herself, inhaling deeply to find her center. As she settled at her desk, she opened her laptop to browse through the details of Adam's recent projects. The glow of the screen illuminated her face, but it also amplified the swirling doubts within. Would she find concrete evidence of wrongdoing, or would she confront a mere figment of paranoia? The familiar interface calmed her, the organized chaos of emails and schedules serving as a distracting backdrop to her internal conflict. The clock ticked on, and as hours passed, she immersed herself in the data. Reviewed correspondence overwhelmingly pointed to Adam's long-standing commitment to ethical projects, yet the whispers from Jordan pushed her to dig deeper. It was a delicate balance. She was committed to understanding Adam but fearful of unearthing more than she could handle. As she typed, a thought struck her: she needed to investigate the connections between Adam's projects and the shadowy markets Jordan had mentioned. Perhaps a common thread linked them, a path that illuminated the murky waters around Adam. Emma reached for her notebook, jotting down potential leads, each more precarious than the last. Her resolve solidified with the realization that this exploration was more than an investigation, it represented a crucial turning point in her professional and personal journey. She expanded her search parameters to include not just Adam's associates but also any external parties who might shed light on the situation. With each click, she envisioned the network of connections tightening around them, like a net drawing her closer to the truth. Just then, a notification pane blinked on her screen. It was a meeting invite from Adam. Curiosity warred with anxiety. What could he possibly want? Would he address the swirling rumors, or was this an invitation to normalcy? Emma cycled through emotions, driven by the need for clarity despite the weight of uncertainty. As the hour approached, she found herself standing at the conference room door, her heart thrumming in her chest. She hadn't hopped on this path merely to support him, it was now a matter of her own integrity. What if he spoke candidly of the accusations? Or, what if he continued to hide behind the veil of corporate diplomacy? Emma entered, greeted by Adam's reassuring smile, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of tension. "Emma, thanks for coming," he said, motioning her to take a seat. "I know times are challenging, and I wanted to reassure you about my commitment to this team and our projects." His tone was calm, but the undercurrents were palpable, a veneer of composure thin as a sheet of ice. "Adam, I need to know what's really going on," she pressed, her voice steadier than she felt. "There's talk about the backdoor deals, a connection between our projects and something more concerning." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. He leaned back, regarding her thoughtfully. "It's complicated. There are pressures and expectations, but we're managing." "Managing?" she echoed incredulously. "Is that what you call navigating those markets?" She was surprised by her own boldness, her pulse racing as she pursued a path of confrontation. "Emma, I can't," he began, but she cut him off, adrenaline coursing through her. "What if this leads you to make decisions that compromise everything we believe in? What if it endangers our team?" He paused, the uncharacteristic vulnerability in his expression firing a spark of resolve in her. "Sometimes the truth is difficult to confront," he replied finally, and easier to ignore. His admission felt like a crack in the facade, creating a rift that Emma hadn't expected. In that moment, she realized the stakes were higher than mere professional curiosity. Her own integrity was on the line. The more they talked, the more she found herself weighing her loyalty against the potential disaster looming ahead. As they concluded their meeting, Adam's look shifted to one of earnestness. "Please trust me. I'm doing what I think is best." Emma exited the conference room, her mind buzzing with conflicted emotions. Could she trust Adam to navigate the storm independently? With unresolved questions swirling in the air, she felt compelled to dig deeper. As she walked back to her desk, an unexpected buzz struck her phone. Another tip, perhaps a lead? Curiosity consumed her. She had no choice but to find out what lay beneath the surface of the murky waters threatening to engulf them both. What new revelations awaited her? Emma steeled herself, aware that their fragile connection might soon face its most profound test. The screen illuminated her face, and Emma's fingers danced across the keyboard, drawing her deeper into the world of the unfamiliar connections she was unearthing. Each lead felt like a thread, and she was determined to weave them into a narrative that revealed the truth behind Adam's carefully constructed image. The electric feeling from her earlier confrontation flickered in the back of her mind, fueling her determination. Emma's heart raced as she sifted through company records and public disclosures. Each document bore clues, half-hidden truths slipping through the cracks. She could almost see a web of relationships forming, each link representing a potential pitfall or a looming opportunity. The realization struck her: she was no longer just a cog in a corporate machine but an investigator on a mission. A text from Jordan popped up on her phone. "Have you found anything yet?" With a glance around the office, she felt a rush of adrenaline. This was her moment to potentially expose the truth. Instead, she typed, "I'm still gathering info. I'll let you know." But a flicker of doubt wormed its way into her thoughts. Could she rely on Jordan, a man whose motives were still unclear? The balancing act of trust was dizzying. Returning to her task, she noted that Adam had expanded his partnerships lately into sectors that aligned with Jordan's ominous hints. It was all too easy for Emma to imagine herself caught in a game much larger than her. She forced herself to refocus, reminding herself how far she'd come. This pursuit of truth was transforming her from a passive observer to an active participant. Hours passed in a blur until her eyes fell upon a report detailing funding transfers linked to Adam's projects. A name stood out, one that had been mentioned in the gossip Jordan had shared. It struck her like a lightning bolt, the realization of a hidden connection. This individual, known to be entrenched in unethical trade, could be the key to understanding Adam's alleged misdeeds. Emma felt a tight knot in her stomach. The gravity of what she was about to engage in hit her. She was on the precipice of demanding answers that could shake the foundation of everything she had known. The stakes were no longer just about her curiosity or Adam's reputation, they were entwined with her integrity and the ethical fabric of the team she cared about. A fresh wave of determination surged through her. Emma decided she had to confront Adam again. She couldn't let fear dictate her actions anymore. It was time to take control and push through the uncertainty. She could feel the weight of the decisions ahead of her. Would she be stepping into danger or bravely pursuing a clarifying truth? In a heartbeat, she composed an email to Adam requesting another meeting, this time to focus specifically on what she had discovered. There was no turning back now. She hit send, her heart pounding as she braced herself for what was to come. What if Adam's reaction swayed the trajectory of her findings? Would he turn defensive, or would he finally lower his guard? A mixture of anxiety and anticipation washed over her. Everything hinged on how this next conversation unfolded. As she awaited his response, Emma felt on the verge of discovering not just the truth about Adam, but also the depth of her own capabilities. Her burgeoning resolve was a new essence in her character, marking a dramatic shift from compliance to active engagement. Just then, a new notification seeped into her consciousness, an email from Adam appearing at the top of her inbox. The subject line simply read, "Our meeting." Emma took a deep breath, the resolution to face whatever lay ahead hardening her spine. She clicked it open, her heart racing at the possibilities awaiting her. Would this encounter catapult her into a storm, or would it ultimately lead to clarity? The moment of reckoning was fast approaching, and Emma felt the pulse of an imminent revelation urging her onward. Emma stared at Adam's email, her heart drumming a chaotic rhythm against her chest. This moment felt both liberating and terrifying, as if she stood before a threshold that beckoned her to step into an uncertain world where more than just her career was at stake. She opened the email, her eyes skimming over the brief response, "Let's meet tomorrow at noon. I'll be in the conference room." An avalanche of emotions rushed in. The stark finality of his message contrasted sharply with the previously secretive atmosphere surrounding their interactions. Emma's mind flickered through possible scenarios. Would she push too hard? Would he retaliate with charisma that could charm the truth right out of her? She paced her apartment in a whirl of thoughts, each step a reminder of the vital confrontation ahead. Instead of recoiling from that daunting sensation, she leaned into it, embracing the adrenaline coursing through her veins. This tension wasn't merely fear, it was empowerment. Each doubt she had experienced over the past weeks transformed into a sharpened focus, a deepening commitment to uncover the layers of deception. Emma woke the next day with a singular purpose, a determination to navigate through the maze of lies and innuendo that surrounded Adam. She dressed more assertively, opting for a tailored suit that reflected her commitment to professionalism. This wasn't merely the attire of a corporate employee but armor for the battle she was about to engage in. As she entered the office, she could feel the air electric with anticipation. Colleagues were buzzing about, but she tuned it all out. The storm inside her mind centered around the conversation that was drawing closer. In her mind's eye, she rehearsed each possible exchange with Adam, anticipating the counterarguments he would raise while also strategizing the critical points she intended to present. Each consideration sharpened her resolve. She needed evidence, clarity, and a personal commitment to integrity. When the clock struck noon, Emma's heart rate doubled. She approached the conference room door, paused, and breathed deeply. This was not merely a meeting, it was a pivotal moment in her personal and professional development. Each second was a reminder of her journey from an observant employee to a woman prepared to confront powerful truths. Adam sat at the large table, exuding control and confidence. His relaxed posture, however, belied the turmoil she sensed simmering beneath the surface. "Emma," he greeted, his smile polite but concealing a veiled scrutiny that made her hairs stand on edge. "Thanks for meeting with me," she replied, keeping her voice steady despite the pressure building within her. "What can I do for you today?" he asked, feigning ignorance, though his eyes sparkled with the thrill of anticipation. Emma took a seat opposite him, laying out the groundwork she had meticulously constructed. She spoke with a blend of clarity and determination, presenting her findings about the questionable funding connections, the shady partnerships, and the ramifications they had on the integrity of their firm. Each word she uttered peeled back the skin of Adam's composed facade, revealing a flicker of uncertainty that threatened to break through. Moments augmented as she laid out concrete evidence, the room growing thick with tension. She linked the threads of their conversation to broader implications, daring to challenge the very ethos of her firm and the beliefs that she had held sacred. Just as she felt she was gaining ground, Adam leaned forward, his expression shifting to a practiced veneer of charm. "What you're suggesting, Emma, could have serious consequences. Are you sure you're prepared to act on this?" The question hung in the air, and for a fleeting moment, doubt crept back in. But something inside her shifted, she felt a new strength solidifying in her core. "It's not about what I want," Emma replied, her voice firm with conviction. "It's about what is right." The weight of her declaration clicked into place, yet hesitation coiled like a serpent in the recess of her mind. How would Adam respond? The stakes were rising, and every heartbeat echoed the urgency of her next move. As the silence stretched, Emma readied her next offensive. The moment of truth felt imminent, and she was not backing down now. And with that, she locked eyes with Adam, waiting for him to reveal his next maneuver. Would he crumble under the pressure, or would he unleash a defense that could trap her into silence? The tension escalated, igniting a confrontation that would shape both their fates. Emma held Adam's gaze, navigating the charged atmosphere between them. She could sense the tension vibrating like a taut string, ready to snap at any moment. A small chip in his armor had appeared, and she intended to exploit it. The calculated groundwork she had laid out was not merely for this confrontation, it was the culmination of her own evolution from a hesitant analyst to a determined changemaker. He leaned back in his chair, the personable mask slipping momentarily. "Consequences can be uncomfortable. You really want to travel that road? The challenge in his tone stirred something deep within her, it solidified her resolve. It's not about my comfort, Adam. It's about accountability. If we don't confront these issues now, what integrity can we claim? The words felt foreign yet exhilarating on her tongue. Emma was no longer a passive observer but an active participant in her own narrative. She leaned forward slightly, feeling the stakes rise even higher, invigorated by what was at risk. Was this an unwise gamble? Perhaps. Did she care? Not anymore. Adam's composure shifted again, and he exhaled slowly, deliberating over her response. You're treading a fine line. His voice dropped, more guarded now. You really think your colleagues will back you on this? Think about the repercussions on your future here. The intimidation was palpable, but Emma refused to be swayed. I'm not concerned about the politics, Adam. The truth is bigger than the individual. There's a principle at play here. If we become complicit, we lose everything we stand for. The conviction rolling off her tongue fueled her confidence, yet somewhere, a haunting whisper of doubt lingered, tightly coiling in her gut. Did she truly believe that? Or was she clinging to the idealized vision of her role? Feeling a surge of adrenaline, Emma took a deep breath and introduced her prepared notes, the data and quotes she had collected meticulously. Here's a summary of the inconsistencies found in our last 3 funding rounds. I'm not just concerned about us, it's our stakeholders, our employees. What kind of message do we send if we sweep this under the rug? As she spoke, she maintained her poise, carefully eyeing Adam's responses for chinks in his facade. Each statistic she offered was not simply evidence, it was a means to reframe the conversation. Each revelation underscored the importance of transparency and honesty, qualities she had once assumed were part of the foundation of their organization. He listened, and for a moment, she saw his practiced surface flicker. The well-rehearsed lines he utilized to maintain control faltered as the weight of her assertions bore down on him. Did he feel his power waning? But just as quickly as it flickered, the moment passed, replaced by a defiant glint. You're playing with fire, Emma. You have passion, and that's admirable, but naive. Was he underestimating her resolve or simply toying with her aspirations? Instead of responding, Emma reflected on this newfound dynamic. The battle was no longer an external one, it tussled within. The tension between her ideals and the burden of potential fallout pressed against her mind heavily. Adam was clever, he knew this fragile game of chess too well. You have a choice, he continued, his voice smooth with an unsheathed edge. You can either drop this before you get burned or let me help you. Stay loyal to the firm. Think this through carefully. Her pulse quickened as the implications sank in. This was not merely a professional step she was facing, it was a test of her moral compass. A choice between ambition and integrity. Emma's thoughts raced, conducting an autopsy of her next move while carrying the heavy weight of the choice ahead. It was pivotal. The air hung thick, seemingly suspended in time, as she wrestled with the values she held dear and her desire to ascend in her career. What was she willing to sacrifice to unveil the truth? As she contemplated her response, a revelation surged, perhaps loyalty to herself was what truly mattered. With this newfound understanding, she prepared to deliver her answer, threading the needle of her ethical dilemma with tenacity and purpose. But deep within her lay the burning question, would the pursuit of this truth set her free, or would it shackle her to the consequences of her own boldness? Emma sat across from Adam, the tension in the room palpable, as their recent exchanges spiraled into an arena of moral conflict. She could feel her heart racing, each beat a reminder of the delicate balance she had to maintain between ambition and integrity. The moment had arrived to fully confront the truth not just about Adam but about herself as well. Let us lay it all on the table, Adam, Emma stated firmly, the weight of her convictions infusing her voice. I want to know everything. The partnerships, the decisions you've clouded too much for too long. This is not just about the company anymore. It's about all of us. Adam shifted in his chair, the stoicism he had always worn now cracking slightly at the edges. His confidence began to give way to uncertainty, revealing a glimpse of the man hidden beneath the layers of ambition and self-preservation. She had seen the robust leader before, commanding and decisive, but now his posture betrayed a tempest raging within. "Emma," he said softly, "you don't understand how delicate this situation truly is." "Then help me understand," she pressed, feeling her determination enhance. "I've already seen enough to know that shadows lurk around our projects. You can't dismiss this anymore. We're on the brink of something that could compromise everything we've built." He inhaled deeply, a flicker of conflict in his eyes. "It's complicated," he finally admitted, fear creeping into his voice. "Some of my decisions She interrupted, her voice filling with a newfound confidence. "What does that mean? Are you telling me there's more beneath the surface? More than just business?" Suddenly, the rush of empowerment surged through Emma. She wasn't just confronting him, she was reclaiming her narrative. She focused on the facts, highlighting discrepancies and potential ethical violations, underscoring her unwavering commitment to accountability. Each point she made felt less like an accusation and more like an affirmation of her own growth. "I refuse to remain complicit, Adam," Emma declared, feeling righteous fire igniting within her. "You knew there were risks, and yet, you chose the path that shadows were cast upon. This isn't just about protecting your reputation, it's about maintaining our integrity as a company and as human beings. You put us all in jeopardy." Meeting her gaze, Adam's facade of control began to fracture. "You don't know what I've sacrificed for this company." The passion in his voice unveiled the depth of his commitment, but behind it loomed an undeniable fear of losing it all: control, reputation, and perhaps, Emma. "Perhaps it's time we decide together what we're both willing to sacrifice," she countered effortlessly, her voice steady now. The fierce negotiation between ambition and integrity had transformed into her strongest form of advocacy. As silence washed over them, the tension palpable yet invigorating, Emma dared to reveal the depths of her vulnerability. "I've watched you unravel, Adam. I can't stand by while this company, which embodies everything we've worked for, descends into murkiness that swallows us whole. Can you honestly say you're willing to preserve your ambitions at the cost of our ethical standards?" In that moment, the air shifted. The tension thickened around them, binding them together in an unspoken pact. Adam, for the first time, lowered his gaze and seemed to weigh her words. Emma had taken back her power, she had confronted her fears and the complicated emotions wrapped around Adam, illuminating a path of clarity. "I don't want to lose you," he finally confessed, the vulnerability in his voice cutting through the noise of ambition. "I need you on this journey, but I didn't want to drag you into a mess that's threatening everything we've launched." "Then let us confront this together," Emma suggested, her tone softening as empathy washed over the preceding fire. "Allow me to help you navigate the implications. We can do this right." A tentative yet profound understanding ignited between them, the chasm of doubt transforming into an alliance forged through transparency and shared ambition. This burgeoning connection was a reflection of their growth. They were no longer just an employee and employer, but partners in navigating the intricate tapestry of truth. Emma felt a solid certainty bloom within her. Cemented in her convictions, she was no longer merely a participant in the corporate game of life. She had grown into an advocate of ethical standards, facing her worst fears and stepping into a realm of professional integrity that would shape not only her career but the essence of their shared ambitions. As the conversation progressed, a palpable shift occurred. Together, they outlined a plan. They would face the scandal head-on, open the necessary communications across the board, and strategize to protect both their principles and the company's reputation. Walking away from that day's meeting, Emma could feel a sense of accomplishment blossoming. She had conquered the fear that had once silenced her, emerging as a powerful force ready to transform not only their professional environment but also her own trajectory. Turning the final corner in her mind, she acknowledged the truth of her journey. Emma had unearthed that the sacrifices made along the way didn't diminish her worth, they defined her character. She had chosen to embrace transparency over comfort, echoing her belief in ethical achievement. With fierce pride, she stepped into the lobby of the agency, the sunlight reflecting her newfound empowerment. She had navigated the intricate nuances of ambition, righteousness, and truth. And in that moment, Emma recognized she had achieved something more than just personal victory. She had reclaimed her narrative and emerged fortified, ever stronger, standing on the precipice of an exciting new chapter with integrity as her compass. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. This is the moment to show your support for the journey of overcoming challenges and exploring vivid narratives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help these engaging tales reach more hearts. Comment your reactions and theories about Emma's journey and her ultimate choices. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Your support matters more than you know.